Everyone, welcome to another page in the Desert Plant Diary. I'm Carl. I made a succulent haul recently from one of the botanical flower shows, and one of the Truncatas purchased is in bloom today, and I thought I'd share that bloom with you guys. So also thought I'll share with you one of the succulent arrangements I made about a year ago. Now here's the reason why I got into plants actually. I believe that it makes sense to buy a plant which is in bloom, because you will have flower power for longer than you just buying a cut flower which lasts for about a week on average. And I eventually switched on to succulent arrangements because if you buy a floral arrangement, it will fade in time. But this guy has been like this for, I think, close to a year now. And about 2 weeks ago, I pulled out some of the dried up bits or plants that got a little leggy because they didn't get enough sunlight. And tucked something else in. So over here I had a bear's paw, and I had to take that out and repotted him and put another cutting over here. Then I think there was something else growing over here. I can't recollect what was there. Or it may have been this Aeonium kiwi, which was shorter. And now that that's grown, I put a cutting of the Paraguayense over there to cover that opening. And it seems to be doing pretty well. Another blue elf cutting over there. And that Echeveria chroma was pretty big, so I kind of pruned that a bit and tucked the same plant in that arrangement. So I'll also share one of the Truncatas which is in bloom, just one bloom today, nonetheless enough to make my day. So this is the Truncata which is in bloom. And you can see some damage over there. So I've got chickens at home, and one of the hens got a little adventurous and decided to perch itself in one of the hanging pots. And that's the reason you see the damage over there. And I did not want to repot this or adjust it or trim it because it was in bud. And these plants can be pretty fussy when in bud, because even if you change the location or the watering, it will abort all of the buds, which is not an advisable thing to do. And this is not necessarily a Christmas cactus, it is a Thanksgiving cactus. As you can see, the leaf edges have some kind of claw-like projections that come outward over there. So this is a Truncata. The Christmas cactus typically has scallops edges. And this guy has been in bloom the entire month of December, and I'm guessing this will go on till February, because there are quite a few buds on this. Over here as well, and I think the signs of more buds being pushed out. And let me share another one with you, a Ripsalis. So I've managed to mount the Ripsalis. This is a Ripsalis sulcata, and it has quite a lot of buds on it. So quite excited about that. I think it should be in bloom in about a week or two. So I will share that video with you guys once it's in bloom as well. Quite a few buds on this. Now, interestingly enough, the Truncata that I showed you earlier typically blooms in the month of October, and this one bloomed in December. But for some reason, I think due to the climate change, these guys have delayed their bloom cycle. And let's get to the main reason why I made this video today, which is the new Truncata in bloom. So welcome back, guys. So the sun seems to have hit this area, unfortunately, so I hope you guys can see the bloom right now. So this is the one that I purchased a couple of days ago, which was in bud, and now it's in bloom. And it is a new color that I have. It's beautiful. It's a peach color. I hope the camera catches that. Let me try and shade the plant a bit. So there you go. So it's a beautiful one, along with all of the other plants purchased from the botanical show that I went to. Now, what I have done with all of the new plants is to quarantine them. So I've placed them in the corner of the house where I don't have too many other plants, because in the past I did buy plants and place them along with the other plants, and I have about 400 to 500 now, and some of them did get infected with some type of scale insect. Well, the good news about scale insects is they're very picky about the type of plant they feast on, so you don't get the entire collection infected. Nonetheless, it is pretty problemsome to have to deal with all of those pests. So a good thing to do is to place a plant in a quarantined area and observe them for pests and diseases. So that way, if anything's infected, you could separate that and treat it. Generally, if I find a plant's infected, I will treat the entire collection around it, because it's quite a risk to have them added to your entire collection and have the entire thing infected, which has happened before. So that's one of the reasons why I isolate them. Another question I was asked by a person who called me to accompany him to pick up a few plants from this show, had asked me if he needs to repot the plant because the pot seemed a little tiny in his opinion. And what I typically would advise people to do is to let the plant be in the pot it's come in and the soil it has come in, because you have already changed its environment, the temperature, everything else changes, because at the nursery the watering and the sunlight and everything is pretty controlled, the type of fertilizer they get, drip irrigation, sprinklers. So it's advisable not to mess too much with the plant, because you are stressing it out a bit already by bringing it out of the area it's been growing in. As you can see from this plant, a lot of its leaves have dried, so I'm guessing it's using all that energy to survive right now, though I have watered it a bit. And perhaps the plant, the nursery guys have already changed the soil it's come in, so it's quite a risk to have to meddle with that plant again. So my advice would be to allow it to be in that soil for a couple of months, at least a month minimum, in my opinion, and then you could possibly change it to a different potting soil that you normally use. So that's all from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and liked the plants as well, and get inspired to start a collection and garden of your own. So thank you for tuning in again. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Cheers.